And greetings, welcome. My name is Lynn and Honor. I greet you with lots of love, peace, and positivity. How are you doing? Hope you're doing well. I'm doing just fine. My family's doing wonderful too. Matter of fact, just came to mind. My older daughter, she lost her first tooth yesterday, and we were so excited. It's the simple things in life that really makes it all worthwhile. And as a husband and father, I was so excited. We did a live video stream yesterday. And we do it every single Sunday. My wife and I. It's called Positive Relationships on LynnandHonor.com. And while we were doing the show, one of my daughters, and our two daughters, you hear them laughing. They were laughing, and they were laughing loud. And one of them runs in. Saida, her tooth came out, and we've been waiting for a long time. It's been loose for a couple of weeks, and it finally came out, and we were all so excited. So we caught it on video, and everyone in the chat room that were there and listening in, they enjoyed that as well. It's the simple things, really, that make it all worthwhile. I don't know. I guess I'll just share. When you do this kind of work, you do have challenges. It's not easy. When I say this kind of work, when you're trying to inspire people, you're trying to help people, you're trying to give them a different way of looking at the world, maybe giving them a different way of looking at their sense of what's possible, so they can have an expansion of possibility. And it can be a challenge, especially early on in that process. We've been doing it for about 6 years. And when I say we, my wife and I. But everything is always put in context when you have those moments. When that child, says something that's amazing, or they do something that's amazing, or their tooth comes out and they get all excited. It just makes it all worthwhile. My name is Lynn and Honor. I have a website, LynnandHonor.com. I also have another website, LynnandHonorFilms.com. And I want to thank you so much for viewing this video. I do appreciate your time. I've been doing question and answer videos here on YouTube. My YouTube page, it was really popular going back years ago, but I stopped using it for different reasons. One, I needed to transition to dealing with different topics. And mainly my documentary work was here on YouTube, but I had to begin to take all that stuff down because of copyright infringement. But then I began to change and start to deal with other topics that I consider to be more empowering to people, that encourage people to refine themselves, refine their thoughts, their words, and their actions. It's a huge thing. And as I continue to build it back up, I decided to do question and answer videos. And at this point, we've had over 6 million video views. You won't see it on YouTube now because they've changed it. How they work it is it depends on how many videos you currently have up and how many views you got for those current videos. So that's what you'll see. But if you count up all the videos that I've had up over the last 6 years and all the views for all of those, it's over 6 million. And it's just been an amazing journey. And I decided to go ahead and pick it back up and hopefully help other people and help more people in more positive, more influential ways, and to really inspire. That's the ultimate goal, is to inspire people and motivate. Okay, get motivated. You can do it. I know you can. Okay. So part of this is to answer questions that people have. And this is an interactive thing. If you have any questions that you want to have, or you have after watching this, post them below. You have any comments, post below. And some of the questions I take and I do them in video form, like this one here. Hey, Lynn, how's it going? Good. How are you? This is from David. How's it going, David? I have a question about going back to school as an adult. I hope you don't mind when I talk like that. I really don't have a problem with how I talk. I talk how I talk. Okay. And I can be more meticulous with how I speak, I know, at times. But it's really not that important. I just want y'all to understand where I'm coming from without having to be pretentious. Okay, so David says, I'm 27. Do you think it's really beneficial, meaning to go back to school as an adult? I think it's overrated. Many people with degrees don't get into anything close to what they went to school for and have crazy student loans. In other words, crazy student loan debt, right? Has your college experience shaped you as far as your life, who you have become, and your business? This is an excellent question, and I only have 20 minutes to answer, but I'm going to do my best to answer it in 15. College is really just the extension of high school. That's the first thing people have to understand. College is the extension of high school. Graduate school is the extension of college, right? Meaning your undergraduate work. And then, of course, you pursue your PhD. That's just the next step. But it's just all part of the process. And people can opt in or opt out at any given time. That's really how it goes. We come with this, part of the system, it tells us that if we stay on track and the higher up we go in that process, the better our life will be. That's a lie. It's not true. It's not true, ladies and gentlemen. It's not that simple. It'd be nice if it was. If it were really that simple, then everyone who has a PhD would have a wonderful life. And then the people who have a PhD would have a better life than those who have a master's degree. And then those who have a master's degree would have a better life than those who have an undergraduate degree, a BA, if you will, or a BS. No pun intended. A BA. And that everyone who has a BA would have a better life than those who just have a high school diploma. And those who have a high school diploma would have a better life than those who have just went to junior high school. And those who went to junior high school would have you see the point here? And this better life has nothing to do in terms of the perception of it with anything that is necessarily tangible or real or meaningful as it relates to your life experience in your interactions with other human beings. It has more to do with the perception of your ability to earn income, money. That's what it comes down to. That's the great illusion. That somehow if you go to college, if you get an undergraduate degree, you're going to make more money than someone who gets just a high school diploma. Or if you get a master's degree, you're going to be able to earn more money than someone who has an undergraduate degree. Or if you get a PhD, you're going to be able to earn more money. And it doesn't always work out that way. In many cases, it doesn't work out that way. But the general idea is that if you do these things, it's going to work out. That's the myth of it all. That the further up you go in this line of this programming, if you will, the more money you'll be able to make and the better life you will have. That's not true. Not on both levels. It's not true in terms of the money you make or the life that you have. I know plenty of PhDs whose lives are, my goodness, I'm not going to say any names. I know one PhD who is well known. When I say well known, I mean really well known. I don't even want to say too much. And her life, my goodness, and the amount of debt, $400,000 in debt. We talk about indentured servitude. My goodness gracious. That's huge. And then the interest rates and the interest that is paid on that's probably why it's $400,000. And I don't know what it is now, but I'm talking about we go back 10 years ago, that's where it was. Who knows where it's at now? I had a doctor contact me, and he said, I know you have on your radio show, we have radio interview guests on Fridays on LenonHour.com. Come on, join over. Come on over. Come on. And I talked to him on the phone, and he was like, you do understand that not all doctors, medical doctors, are the way that you may think they are. There are some of us, we recognize the different degrees of manipulation. He said, one of the things that you don't understand, and he didn't phrase it this way, but this is what I got from him. And if I don't understand something, I want to understand it, so I listen. One thing that you don't understand is that doctors, in order to make a doctor, the doctor must be traumatized. I said, what? He says, yes, it's trauma-based mind control programming. That's how doctors are made. I said, are you serious? He says, yes, I'm a doctor. I've been practicing doctor for decades. I said, wow. So we're going to have him on as a radio interview guest. And he's going to talk about the making of a doctor and the use of trauma-based mind control to create doctors. Did y'all know that? I was like, wow, it's incredible. Okay. This trauma is deep too because, and I'm just using one example in terms of PhDs or doctors, medical doctors. But this trauma is deep because this trauma also impacts the quality of their life. And we're not talking about how much money they're making. And we're not even talking, at this point, we're not talking about the amount of debt that they go into, because that debt is also stress too. So you got that stress, but also the trauma of becoming a doctor and everything that they have to go through in order to become one. And a level of imbalance that perpetuates itself as a result. And we're talking about psychological imbalance and in many cases physical imbalance. Well, like a lot of doctors are unhealthy. There's a reason why. They've been traumatized for years, in some cases for a whole decade, to get that PhD, to get that degree. Okay. The point that I'm making here is that we have to dispel with this myth that somehow by going further in this indoctrination system that we call education, that somehow you're going to earn more money and that somehow you are going to live a better life. and that somehow because you earn more money, you're going to live a better life. That's not true at all. I've met millionaires whose lives are in utter turmoil. Can't be in a relationship, are not good parents, are not good fathers, are not good husbands, are not good wives, etc. All kinds of problems. I've met them throughout the years. I mean, as a musician, when I was in college, they would always invite me to play at these galas where they would have these people that would be the, people who would donate to the school. I used to go to UC Irvine. I went there for 5 years. And you'd be amazed because there were people that would come up and they said, yeah, this person, they donated $17 million to the college last year. And I said to myself, okay, if it's $17 million, they're donating $17 million and it's a tax write-off for them, right? I wonder how much money they actually made in totality last year. I said, wow. Some of us are like $17 million, ridiculous. No, it's real. People make that kind of money. Did y'all know that? People make that kind of money. People make $50 million, $60 million, 20, 30, 40 point, Kobe Bryant scored. They make that kind of money. But to put that in perspective, I just thought, I was like, wow, these people have a lot of money to just be throwing out. But then when you talk to some of them, and it's not that I talk to all of them, because I'm not saying that everyone is like that, but you talk to some of them and you realize that they have struggles just like everyone else. They got the same types of struggles. They may not have financial issues like other people in terms of getting their bills paid, etc., but they have financial liabilities, they have financial concerns, they have financial fears, just like everyone else. And in their lives, they have the same kind of challenges that everyone else has, it's just in a different context. They just have a whole lot more money than most other people, right? You see what I'm saying here? So we have to dispel with this myth that somehow simply by having more money or being able to earn more money that your life is going to be better. What makes your life better is your mind. Okay. In other words, that in the first place, you got to have your mind right. And the problem is that just because you go through this indoctrination process in terms of the education system doesn't mean that you're going to come out in your right mind. Most people do not. Whether that's coming out of high school, whether that's coming out of junior high school, whether that's coming out of their undergraduate work in college, whether that's coming out of their graduate work, or if they're coming out of their postgraduate work, seeking a PhD, what have you. Most people don't come out in their right mind. And it's not meant to have people come out in their right mind. Did y'all know that? It's designed to create people who only perceive themselves to have the potential to be workers and to work for the system. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, because if that's why you're here, that's why you're here. But that's not why all of us is here. And if we were all here for that simple reason, then everyone would be working all the time. And it would be our existence would be very rudimentary. People would run the same programs every single day, every single day, every single day. The whole species? No. We're not all supposed to experience that. Okay? Part of what I'm getting at here is the myths. We have to dispel with the myths. It is true, not in all cases, but in some cases, it can be true that by having more education, you can earn more money. But just because you earn more money doesn't mean that you're going to have a better life. You see what I'm saying here? So we got to be clear about this. And then you also have to ask the question, what do I have to give up in order to earn that extra money? Because a lot of people, they end up being able to earn extra money, but they're $40,000, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 in debt. In some cases, $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 in debt. You got to ask the question, what is it really worth? That's what I mean. We got to think about it logically and intellectually. So for you, at the age of 27, David, you got to ask your question, why would I do that? And does it make sense? Does it make sense in terms of my time? Does it make sense in terms of the amount of money that I'm going to have to spend in order to actualize that? Does it make sense in terms of the loan and the interest rates on those loans? Is it going to make sense? I'll use myself as an example. At this point, I'm probably $14,000 in debt in terms of student loan debt. It's about $14,000. Collectively, my wife and I were about $25,000 in debt. Some people are like, that's a lot of money. But there's other people like, no, that's not a lot of money. Some people, I can pay that off in about 6 months. No big deal. For us, we consider that to be a significant amount of money. But that's because based upon our experiences and then in transcending and seeking to transcend what we call poverty consciousness. When you can make as much money as you need to make at any given time. It's possible. It's just a matter of refining your thoughts as it relates to money and realizing, conceptualizing and realizing the means to which you can actualize that kind of money. But it can be done because there's people doing it all over the world. And you can do it too. And my wife and I, we're on this quest at this point. Not just to pay back student loan debt, but so that we can be in a position to where we can use that money in our right mind to experience things that cost money to experience. See, so that can mean, to be able to go on a long trip with our children and take them, or to make sure our daughters have African dance class. You know what I'm saying? Or our sons have music classes, right? Or if he wants to go play basketball or whatever, yeah, we got money to go do these kinds of things. See, it's so that we can buy the experiences that we cannot afford. And some experiences you got to pay for. This is something I've learned from Bob Proctor, Les Brown, etc. I've been studying these people for some time, especially Les Brown over the last 2 weeks. I've been really getting into his stuff. Awesome. It's possible to do so, to generate that kind of money. And we wouldn't do that simply to pay back student loan debt. But we recognize in retrospect, and especially if we look at it in terms of how it feels to have that debt. A lot of people, that's not a lot of money. A lot of people, they're $50,000, $60,000, $80,000, $120,000, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 in debt. One lady I was talking about, she's a doctor, well known. She's older too. She's like probably 50. Maybe 50, 53, 54, somewhere around there. So you can imagine, if you got $20,000 at that age, that's serious. The point being is that in retrospect, when I look at it, I have to ask the question, was it really worth it? Now, let me make this, because I don't want people to think that, I'm not going to college because I don't want to have to be in debt. No, you shouldn't look at it that way. How you should look at it and you should approach it is this going to benefit me? And by going to college, is this going to facilitate the education that I need in order to do what it is I came onto the planet to do? And this brings back to something that David has spoken about, how there are so many people who have particular degrees, and then they earn these degrees, and then the field that they're working in has absolutely nothing to do with the degree. And this is so very true. I have so many college friends. I'm also say this. I went to college for 5 years. They allowed me to walk, meaning, to graduate in terms of physically, but officially, I still have one more course to take, which is a Spanish course. And if I take that one course, and I could take it at a community college, then they'll send me the degree. But they won't send me the degree, the physical degree, until such time as I take that course. And here I am. Oh my goodness, let's see, 2002, 15 years later, and I haven't done it. That's a doggone shame. Yeah, that's something I need to do. Right? I don't do that because of the degree. I do that because I want to finish something that I started. You spend 5 years, etc., and then all you need is one more course. That's ridiculous. Okay, that's ridiculous. All right. And I've been telling myself I'm going to take the class and go to community college and take the class, and it's not a money issue because it's only cost about $40 for 15 years. You think I can't make that good? Okay, no excuses. All right. But my college experience, I didn't go for the education, because when I got out, I was not, quote unquote, intellectually. It's not, however intellectually you are if y'all think that I have any kind of level of intellect at this point, it's not, college didn't do that for me. Okay, that's not something that happened after college. Okay, true research and true self-discovery didn't take place in college. It took place after. My college experience was valuable to me because it opened up new vistas. In other words, it opened up my mind to new possibilities that I could not conceive of based upon my childhood experience. That is invaluable. There's no amount of money that I can conceptualize that I would say, okay, I'm unwilling to pay for that. And then the people that I met, the friends that I made, the types of experiences that I had, talking to different people from other places in the United States of America, and in some places, people that were first generation, from other places around the world, or even people who were there from other places around the world. All that's what the true value for me was, because it expanded. For me, I went for music. I went to study music, and I went to University of California, Irvine, and my teacher was James Newton. And the only reason I went to that school was because he was teaching there at that time. If he was teaching someplace else, I would have tried to get into the different. And I had different options too. I could have went to UCLA. I could have went to UC Berkeley. I could have went to UC Irvine. I could have went to UCSD. I think I applied to a couple other ones too. UC Davis. However, because my teacher was at UC Irvine, I went to UC Irvine, and I had been studying with him since I was like maybe 15. So it made sense, to go where he was at. If he wasn't there, I wouldn't have gone there. And it was my interactions with him that were valuable. It was his guidance, as not just as a, musical teacher, but also as a father figure. That's what was valuable to me. And I, when I think about it, I would pay however much, even if I'm $15,000 in debt. But I don't mind paying $50 to have those experiences over those 5 years. So I think it depends. I think it depends on where you're at. If at the age of 27, you've progressed beyond particular needs as it relates to being able to have that kind of guidance from someone, from having these experiences with other people, and, you know, by this time you being you 27, other people are like 17, 18, 19, and you're interacting, I don't know if that's going to be valuable to you. However, I want people to understand that just because you go to college, it doesn't mean that you're going to earn a significant amount of money, and it doesn't mean that your life is going to be perfect, okay? But also, I want you to know that just because you do go to college doesn't mean that you're going to be in extreme levels of debt, and that your life is not going to be wonderful. Does this make sense, or did I mess that up? Do I need to rephrase that? Because I don't want people to think that somehow going to college is not valuable to them. I think that in general, people who have not gone to college and who are successful, they automatically assume that they're successful because they didn't go to college. And then there's people who go to college who are successful, and they think that the reason why they're successful is because they went to college. Well, life is not that simple. And from my vantage point, it's an issue of having understanding as to what it is that you need in your life right now. And just because you get a degree doesn't mean you're going to be earning more money. It doesn't mean that your life is going to be perfect. But also, just because you don't earn a degree doesn't mean that your life is going to be perfect and you're going to earn more money than someone who doesn't have a degree. Does that make sense? Okay. And I only have 2 minutes here. Okay, so I have a question about going back to school as an adult. I'm 27. Do you think it's really beneficial? It can be. It depends on what your goals are. And is it necessary for you to have a degree to reach your goals? Okay. I think it's overrated. I got a degree in music, and I'm not really doing much in music, although I know I need to be. I've been listening to Les Brown, and this is definitely something I need to, do. Matter of fact, I'm gonna be doing some videos up here to share that particular gift with people. Y'all just wait. Maybe I'll do it tonight. Okay. And then many people with degrees don't get into anything close to what they went to school for and have crazy student loans. That's absolutely true. How was your college experience? I talked about that. How has it shaped you as far as your life, who you have become, and your business? Well, I only have 2 minutes here, but in terms of my business, my college experience had nothing to do with it at all. Running online businesses, premium membership products, etc., that had nothing to do with it. I wasn't taught entrepreneurship, and most people aren't taught entrepreneurship unless you go for specifically a business degree. But if you go for any other degree, you're not taught how to generate income yourself. You're taught how to work. And that's why it doesn't matter what degree you get, you're always going to be able to find work someplace. That's the idea. It's not to frame you in a particular way to get you on course to where you're an entrepreneur. It's to frame you in a particular way to where you work for someone else. That's what the whole school system, whether it's public education, private, whether it is, undergraduate, postgraduate, or getting your doctorate, it's all designed for that purpose, to create workers. Okay, so in that sense, college did not impact my decision to become a businessman or to become an entrepreneur. That's something that took place later. Okay, and I wish I had more time to talk about that. I do have a whole bunch of articles that I haven't shared yet dealing with business and how to start your own online business, and I want to help people to do that. Over the last year and a half, I've been hesitant to share those because I didn't feel like I was successful enough in my own internet business. In my internet business, I have a lot of room to grow. But then I've been listening to Les Brown. He said, don't wait till you're ready. Do it now. So very soon I'm going to be sharing those articles, and I'm planning on doing some videos on those articles too. Maybe help you, or anyone else, David, or anyone else, to start your own online business. It can be done. You can generate your own income. It doesn't necessarily matter whether you went to college or not. Okay, so again, before I close out, I'm not saying don't go to college for you young people who are doing this. I'm just saying make sure you're clear as to why you are going and have a clear plan. Most of us, when we go to college, we don't have a plan. We just fumble along. And by the time we get out, we're not in our right mind. Okay. My name is Lyndon Honor. I see you lots of love, peace, and positivity. Head on over to my website, lyndenhonor.com. I have products and services there. I also have counseling services there. We have books, etc. lyndenhonor.com. Post a question below, comment below. I see you lots of love, peace, and positivity. Until next time, please take care. Peace.